Hello, Lakers fans. This is Wilson. So, not sure if the guys are going to want to record tomorrow night. So I'm going to, as I did a couple weeks ago, get this one off just in case. So it's almost 5:30 p.m. right now in LA on Sunday, and just not about 90 minutes ago, the Lakers got done losing to the Timberwolves in Game 4 of their Western Conference first round playoff series. And the Lakers now they find themselves on the brink of elimination. They're on a 3-1 hole, and I don't know. I'm just sort of perplexed at this team. And I always remember when uh, Wilbon and Kornheiser on PTI, they would say, once is an accident, twice is a trend, three times is evidence. I mean, they only said it once, and it always stuck with me. But I look at this Lakers team now, after they lost another close playoff game, lost by 3 points today in Minnesota. That's after holding a 10-point lead to start the fourth quarter. And I look back at their last 3 playoff series, going back to the conference finals against Denver in 2023. And the Lakers have either held the lead entering the fourth quarter or trailed by 5 points or fewer to begin the fourth quarter in 7 of their last 13 playoff games. So those 13 playoff games, like I said, starting with the Denver series, the conference finals in 2023. So in those 13 games, the Lakers have, as I said, they've either held the lead to start the fourth quarter or trailed by 5 points or fewer to start the fourth quarter in 7 of those 13 games, and they are 0-7 in those games. So going back, Game 2 against Denver in 2023 of the conference final series, we led by 3 to start the fourth quarter, lost by 5. In Game 3, we were down 2 to start the fourth quarter, lost by 11. In Game 4, we were down 5 to start the fourth quarter, and we lost by 2. The next year, so last year in the first round, we led by 10 to start the fourth quarter. Our biggest lead was 20, led by 10 to start the fourth quarter, lost by 2. And then in Game 5, we were down 2 to start the fourth quarter and lost by 2, right? Now, in Game 3, which this year, against Minnesota, which was on Friday, down 2 to start the fourth quarter. We were tied with 4 minutes and 37 seconds left. I think the score, we were tied at 103. Ended up losing by 12. So Minnesota scored, and from that point forward, Minnesota scored, the final score was 116 to 104, which means that Minnesota scored 13 of the last 14 points to end the game. And then today, we were up by 10 to start the fourth quarter, up 2 with 3 minutes and 32 seconds left, and we lost by 3. So once again, last 7 games, and where we either had the lead or trailed by 5 points or fewer to start the fourth quarter, we're 0-7 in those games in the playoffs. And it's just kind of, like I said, like I said, as Tony and Mike said, one time it's an accident, twice it's a trend, 3 times it's evidence. So we have evidence now of this Lakers team recently under LeBron James. You know, he's a common denominator because AD is come and gone by now, right? So AD is gone. AD used to get blamed too when when we lose these close playoff games, but now he's gone. Now we have Luka, who's a closer, and we're still losing these types of games. So what's the problem? Who's the common denominator? It's LeBron, right? And I know Austin today, he came out and was hacking early and got in foul trouble, didn't score in the first half, but he had 17 points, in the he had 17 points in the second half. And overall, when you look at it and you look at the box scores, you look at the box score rather. I mean, the Lakers played about as well as you can play and still lose the game. So Luka had 38. LeBron had 27, 12, and 8. LeBron had 27 points on 9 shots. He was 15 and 18 from the free throw line. Rory had 23, and we still lost. We only got 6 bench points. And I think the starters played not the starters because Jackson starts, but the 5 of Rui, Bron, Luka, Austin, and DFS played the entire second half. So we had 46 minutes apiece from LeBron and Luka, 41 from Rui, 35 from Austin, 41 for DFS, and we still lost. Ant-Man had 43, 9, and 6, a huge game. Julius had 25. Jaden McDaniels had 16. Nas Reed had 12 off the bench. And the Timberwolves are up 3-1, man. And on social media, on Twitter at least, obviously everybody who hates the Lakers and hates LeBron is celebrating, and I just think I've cooled off a little bit, but I mean immediately after the game I was really upset, and because I'm just and that's why I said that, for me, this is why I like it better when the Lakers are mid or they're not any good. Even, the teams with AD, the last, 2 years prior to this when they were playoff teams, but it's like we had championship hopes with AD. Now with Luka, it's back to being championship expectations. So we expect now to be in the finals. We expect to win championships. And we're still down 3-1. I'm still sitting here frustrated because they aren't performing the way I feel like they could. Now, see, the thing about it is that the Timberwolves, I don't know if it was probably after game 1. We lost game 1 by 22 points. I think I realized pretty much immediately. And it's weird because how many times did we? I think we played them once after the Luka trade. And I guess it didn't really show up. But if you look at it, I mean, the Timberwolves are better, I think. Bigger, deeper, more athletic, right? So, the Lakers have LeBron, and they have Luka, and they have Austin, and then they have, Rui. You never really know quite what you're going to get, but he is someone who can at least, if you throw the ball to him in the corner, and the defense closes in, he can drive by and use his physicality to get to the basket, right? But everybody else on the roster is basically somebody that has to be spoon-fed their scoring opportunities, right? So DFS and Gabe, if they're not getting hit with wide-open passes, they're not even getting any shots up. Jackson, who hasn't even been playing in this series, basically, he's only useful as a lob threat. So, you don't really have guys outside. It's a top-heavy team. I like it better when the Lakers are more balanced. Back when I was a kid, we had the Shaq Kobe teams, and you had the first year that was the most talented team with that bunch because you had Glenn Rice starting, and then you had AC was the power forward, Ron Harper was the point guard. So you had Fish, Fox, and Ori, who, by the next playoffs, Fish and Fox were, Fox replaced, Rice as the starting small forward. And then by the playoffs, Steve Fish was the starting point guard. And then by the next year, for the three-peat year in the playoffs, Big Shot Bob became he was starting to power forward by the time we finished that run. And so you had the 3 guys who, when the run started, they were coming off the bench by the time it ended, or by the time that we completed the three-peat, they were starting. So that was the most talented team, but it was still a team that was very Shaq Kobe-centric. We just had a viable third option. And that was like the last year that Glenn Rice was, actually good. Um, and then the years after that, it was Shaq, Kobe, and a bunch of world class role players. The teams that we had with Kobe and Gasol and Odom and Bynum, I mean, that was the most talented team in the league. There was no other team like that with that mix of size. It's like Kobe, and then you got these three, you know, guys, 6'10" and better, who all do bring different things to the table, and with Lamar and Powell, the way that they could pass, they were so skilled and everything like that. It was just a really unique team. But that's really the type of roster that I prefer. Is when you have multiple guys who can up and down the roster who can all do things. I think in this since Rob has been here, now that 2020 team that won it, that was kind of like the teams that we won with. I mean, it was. I would say because that's Bron and that's AD, and then it's a bunch of, and it's Danny Green and Rondo and Avery Bradley during the regular season, JaVale and Dwight, KCP. So it's a bunch of role players with probably more viable role players than we had back in the day. But even I mean, it's when I say viable, I mean as far as uh, accolades and at their best being guys who could create do the stuff on their own. You're talking about Rondo and Dwight and people like that, right? Uh, Now with Rob, then so after that, Rob basically blew up the team around Bron and AD, and that's when he brought in Dennis Schroeder and um, these type of players because he realized that LeBron was getting older. That was Montrezl Harrell was on that team, you know, and really the roster was probably better from top to bottom. They started strong, started like 21-4, and then that's when LeBron and AD started getting hurt for the first time as Lakers. Well, not for the first time as Lakers, but the first time as Lakers teammates. And we got to the playoffs and lost in the first round when AD hurt his groin, I think it was, for the first time. And so that was that. Then the Westbrook thing happens. Obviously, that doesn't work. And then the midway point through the 2023 season, that's when we move Westbrook and that's bring in D'Lo. And I really feel like that roster, that was probably the best Rob Pelinka roster since he's been in charge of the Lakers. Because you had I mean that was a squad where you had it was obviously it was D'Lo, and it was Austin, and it was Vando, and it was Bron and AD. Off the bench, you had Dennis Schroeder, who's just always magnificent when he's on a good team, and you had Rory coming off the bench, you know, and then you had cats like that was the year we had the Lonnie Walker game, so they were just kind of Darvin just Lonnie was playing at one point during the regular season, then he kind of got phased out. But just the fact that we had somebody like that sitting on the bench to just come in and win us that Golden State game, that was like the best. That was the best Rob Pelinka roster as far as I'm concerned since he's been in charge of the Lakers, roster construction. And then you had so last year we lose Dennis, or actually I guess you could say we replaced Dennis with Gabe. And Gabe wasn't good at all, so that was a downgrade. Now Gabe has been a lot better this year, but since the trade, since the Luka trade, what it did was it gave us more firepower on offense, but obviously we don't have the size. And then the D'Lo trade meant that it's worked from a point of view of just like I think I don't want to say team chemistry off the court, but just on the court because DFS what he can do defensively, but it's DFS is like I said he's not somebody who can create his own offense. Now you hope that with Luka that I mean obviously Luka makes up for that, but then if the Luka trade AD being gone we don't have any size. So we've been trying to win. That was what it was going to have to be when the Mark Williams trade was rescinded. We were going to have to win without a viable, playoff starting center, and we see right now we're down 3-1. So it's not working, and I don't know. I mean, I think when the Luka trade happened, obviously this is the trade for the future because Luka's still so young. He's only 26 years old. But the relief was that this was a team. I feel like most people feel like this was a team that could still compete in the present. And they got to 50 wins. So that was great. They got the third seed. But I think in this series against Minnesota, where the Lakers were the favorite to win the series, it has been exposed that, man, it's just not enough. We don't have enough, man. We have to get bigger. We have to get more athletic, and we have to get more guys who can create their own offense outside of the big three. I think if you look at Minnesota uh, with Edwards, Randall, McDaniels, Nas Reed, and DiVincenzo, I just think that they're more versatile, and they can give you more and different types of looks than the Lakers can give you. They have like the Lakers have three pitches, the Timberwolves have five. You know, so uh, and Rudy hasn't been much of a factor. This is probably his best game of the series because he had 10 rebounds. He hasn't been much of a factor in the box score, but I think him just being out there when he's out there, Minnesota has not fully, they haven't really adapted. And I said this the last time we recorded, when the group recorded, that you know the Lakers don't adjust to other teams; they make other teams adjust to us. But the Timberwolves, what they've done is they haven't really changed how they play. They haven't gone small just because the Lakers go small, not necessarily. And also, you can't really go small anyway because Nas Reed, who's a stretch guy, he's he's bigger than anybody on the Lakers, you know. So it's just Nas Reed lets him is 6'9", but he weighs 264 pounds. He looks bigger than 6'9" when he's out there. He looks bigger than anybody on the. It might be one of those cases where a guy is 6'11", but because he views himself more as a versatile, offensive, guy who can handle the ball and shoot and stuff like that. He has to be listed smaller. So, you know, they have Randall, who's a beefy guy. Uh, they got a bunch of big athletic guys, long, and the Lakers have to, really give it their best just to, to stay with them. And when you get out there and you can't close games, man, this is what happens. You find yourself down 3-1, and so but I feel like the thing about it is that what's frustrating is that I used to watch. I grew up on Kobe Bryant, the Kobe Shaq teams, and Kobe Gasol, and I used to watch the Lakers in those years. I mean, we would going up. I mean, Minnesota's a good crowd has been rocking. The crowd has been like, I mean, way more turned up. We used to go into Sacramento, and that used to be the most hostile road arena. But the way this Minnesota crowd is crazy, you know. But we used to go in those places in Sacramento and San Antonio, and go in these environments and on the road, and we would just, we would shut it down. If a lot of times it'd be midway through the third quarter, and we would already have the road arena they're just sitting there like, I mean, there's nothing for them to be excited about, you know. And this Lakers team has not shown the ability to do that under LeBron, you know. And I think while Minnesota is a little bit better, like I said, we still have LeBron. We still have, at least no question, two of the three best players in the series. because we have LeBron and Luka, yet we're down 3 games to 1. So, but I feel like sometimes, the other team is, just as good or maybe even a little bit better, like in this case, but you have to dig down and find ways to win anyway. And that's what the Lakers used to do with Kobe. And I feel like the Bulls used to do that. The Bulls did that in 93 against the Knicks, in 98 against the Pacers, in situations where the Bulls were, going for three-peats. And you had a Knicks team and a Pacers team in both of those years that they were hungry, man. And they were a little bit fresher and deeper. But the Bulls just had that dog in them, as they say. They had that fight in them. And the Lakers also, 2000 against Portland, 2002 against the Kings, 2004 against the Spurs, 2010 against the Celtics. All situations where the opponent was, if not better, just as good. And the Lakers, just through grit and might and determination and will, they were able to pull it out. And this Lakers team, they're not showing that, man. It's the playoffs, man. You gotta have some will and some determination. And I don't know. Like I said, the common denominator is LeBron. Can't blame AD anymore, And Luka, he just made the finals last year. He beat a Minnesota team that was better last year on paper than they are this year. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit tougher this year because of Randall, but not as talented because Cat is, really more talented. You would say, bigger, or taller anyway. Can shoot it better. Just a slightly higher class of like he was the first overall pick. I think Julius was 7th when we picked him, and that's another thing also, is that we're getting. I think I was listening to, it was Bill Simmons or Bomani Jones when they were previewing this series, and one of them they were talking about how Julius has never, he's barely even had any good playoff games in his career, but in this series, 16-5-5 in game 1. He had 27 in game 2 in the loss. Then he had 22 in game 3 of victory. Then he had 25 today. So, but that, I think, and that's another thing, man. It's frustrating when you look at, you look at the baby Lakers. The baby Lakers were Julius, D'Lo, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Ivica Zubac, Lonzo. You look at all those guys, no longer with the Lakers, and they all had good careers. Kuzma was able to stick around long enough to win a championship with him. But, Zubac is the one that's really leaves you feeling sore. We look at what he's become, and it's amazing that it kind of, took so long for him to get to this point of being, a possible All-NBA player, somebody who was a finalist for Most Improved Player. He averaged 17 points and 13 rebounds this year. He's just fantastic. He's been killing it in the first round against the Joker. Well, we could use him right now, but Julius is fired up because he's facing off against a team that drafted him that decided basically that they didn't, I don't think we traded him. I think we just let him walk, didn't we? I don't remember, but so he's fired up about that, and the Lakers haven't been able to match the Timberwolves' intensity. The Lakers have more. And this has been like this, even going back to when I was a kid, where Kobe was intense, right? But the other guys are really like more laid back type of guys. And I think, uh, on any team, or most of the time anyway, like, I don't know, I shouldn't say that, I guess. But I mean, most people, most players do not have the mentality of a Kobe Bryant or of an Isaiah Thomas, a Michael Jordan, somebody like that. And even people like, like Magic. Magic was smiling, but Magic had that same killer in him as those guys, Larry Bird, you know. So I think if you look at those teams that we had, really on the the Shaq Kobe teams, I mean, Kobe was intense, but Kobe was young and Shaq was the leader. And the rest of the guys, you look at Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson's a laid back type of coach, right? The Zen master. And then you look at the teams that we had with Gasol. Yeah, Kobe by then he had grown into the like I said, he was always intense and he was always fearsome. But now he had the age and experience, and he was leader of the team. But it was too many other guys who weren't like that, right? And Kobe didn't quite have, as Bill Simmons once said, that galvanizing effect on his teammates that Michael Jordan had. So you had those other guys, Gasol and Odom and Bynum, all kind of like, remember when Phil called Vladimir Radmanovich, he called him a space cadet? All those guys were kind of like that, right? Not the most intense guys. Kind of happy-go-lucky, easygoing guys. And so that team was a team that oftentimes Kobe, even though we had the most talented team, those guys would come and go sometimes, and Kobe would have to step up, and he would have to save us, right? And I think that if you look at this team, once again, I mean, if you look at this era of basketball, there aren't many. I mean, this era of basketball is the stereotype is true. These guys are coddled and they're super rich and they don't care as much as the guys of the past. But so we have in Luka, LeBron. Luka's European. Luka's European. And you have LeBron. LeBron's out there in Game 3 towards the end of the game, and he's laughing it up with Ant-Man and Conley, right? But if you look at on the other side, look at Minnesota out there, man, in this game. Look at Nas Reed and Ant-Man, man. Those guys are like, bruh. Those fools want this thing, man, And the Lakers just haven't been able to match that fire that the Timberwolves have, And it's just unfortunate, bro. It just makes me really sad. See, we were able to get away with the slander, or get away from the slander after Game 3 because the Shedeur Sanders saga was still unfolding, right? And so we lost Game 3, and really it kind of just came and went. But the slanders, it's happening today because people are looking and going, it's mainly aimed at at LeBron, I guess. But it's like, once again, Brian, you got all this stuff. Now you got Luka, and you still can't get it done, So, yeah, man, I just think it sucks. I was really mad about 2 hours ago. Like I said, I've cooled off some, but it's just a rough spot to be in, and it is what it is. It's there's work to be done, and you look at this series when they play again. Is it? So we get 2 days off. We don't play them again until Wednesday. So, but I don't see a way. Like I said, Timberwolves just a little bit too. Timberwolves just a little bit better, and the Lakers cannot match their fire and their intensity, and the Lakers have to have enough pride to be able to close some of these games. Like I said, going back last 3 playoff series anyway, going back to 2023, we haven't shown an ability to close out to close out games. You know, and yeah, it's just really disappointing. Um, Now, elsewhere, I mentioned Shador Sanders, right? He ended up going in the fifth round to the Browns. This is someone who at one point was projected as possibly like the number one overall pick, and he fell all the way to the fifth round. And as it was happening, like I said, it was the biggest story in sports, and everyone was everyone's looking like what the hell is going on? How did he fall all the way to the fifth round? And I was wondering at first, like, is it to spite Dion? You know, what is it? I mean, everybody was saying? What the hell was Shador Sanders saying in those interviews? You know, we know that obviously his dad was. I mean, his dad was prime time. His dad's been flashy as long as as we've known him. He's still Dion. He's still prime. You know, and I guess people felt like, well, Shador, though a talented quarterback, I guess they felt like he wasn't maybe quite. He's not worth the same trouble that his dad was. Even though his dad was in trouble, you know, his dad was just a great player with a flashy persona. But I guess that's what it was. And maybe it wasn't a conspiracy. That's what I was starting to think, is that it was like the league. I was starting to think that he wasn't going to get drafted at all, and that the league had colluded to basically just go, we don't have to have Shador Sanders in this league. We'll just do without him. You know, the league will move on, and even if he was going to be a good quarterback, you know what? It's worth it more to us to just not have him and to spite his dad, or not have to deal with his dad, or not have to deal with Shador's ego or whatever it is. But it was just interesting to watch it unfold. Like I said, everybody was watching, and everybody was had something. Even Trump weighed in and was like, "What the hell is wrong with these NFL teams?" You know. But as it turned out, you had Cam Ward went first overall to the Titans. Everybody knew what was going to happen. Travis Hunter went second to Colorado. Ashton Genty. I'm just going on, maybe a little commentary on the one that stood out to me. Ashton Genty went 6 to the Raiders. That's I have some type of investment in that because Pete is the head coach now at the Raiders. So, I'm always going to root for Pete Carroll. I think that's a good pick for the Raiders because I think more teams should. I think more teams really should try to build for the running back position, because I think even in I think what ends up happening is that, and you've seen this, and of course the game is so vertical now, or it's such a downfield, such a passing game. The running back position is so it's devalued. Even if you look at what the Eagles, they got one of those special running backs, and they were able to get back over the hump last year. And I always like it when a team. Now the Raiders, they don't have a quarterback. Well, that's right. They have Geno Smith, so they do have a quarterback. But I always like it when a team that has a great quarterback, which the Raiders don't have. I'm not saying that. When a team does not, I like it when a team has a great quarterback, but they still try to win with their running game first, and then the quarterback is kind of like a fallback option. I always like it when I feel like that's the best way to try to win. Because imagine if you have a Pro Bowl or an All Pro quarterback, and he's not even the guy that you lean on. So basically, the Raiders now, they have the running back, right? There's no reason Ashton Jesse shouldn't be a really, really, really good, workhorse running back, right? They got Geno Smith. He's okay. But if they're able to, at some point, and we know Pete Carroll's not going to stop as long as he's there, and Tom Brady working in the front office there, they're not going to stop until they have a quarterback and a team that's as good as they can get. So if they're able to, at some point, pair Ashton Genty with a quarterback who's great, they're going to have something. But they already have the running back now, which is important. I look at Jackson Dart went 25th to the Giants, and that's when people really started to say, "Oh, come on now, Jackson Dart over Shador." And then when Tyler Shuff got drafted by the Saints in the second round with the 40th pick, that's when people said, "Oh, hell no," you know. But yeah, I think Jackson Dart is somebody who he started his career at USC, and I remember when he played, he was starting quarterback as a freshman, and I remember when what's his name, Lincoln Riley when he first got hired, and I was on the phone talking to Galveston, and Galveston said, "Yeah, he's probably going to bring Caleb Williams with him," and I was like, "What? But we already have Jackson Dart." I think it was during that same conversation I realized, hey, wait a second, Lincoln Riley doesn't have any loyalty to Jackson Dart. You know, and I realized during the conversation, Caleb Williams is coming and Jackson Dart is going to have to transfer, and he did transfer. He transferred to Ole Miss, and he played for Lane Kiffin, of course, a former USC head coach, and he was one of the offensive coordinators during the very peak of the Pete Carroll era. And I still root for Lane because to me, Lane is, it's like once a Trojan, always a Trojan, right? Not that I went to USC, but I act like it. And, I think Jackson Dart is good, but to me, it's kind of like when it's kind of like when the Vikings last year, how they drafted the kid from Michigan, McCarthy. That's kind of, Jackson Dart did way more throwing the ball at Ole Miss than McCarthy did at Michigan. So I actually think I probably believe in Jackson Dart a little bit more, but he's going to have the team around him. I think he has the potential to be a really good starting quarterback in the NFL. But you got to have that support system. I don't think he's the type of person who, it just doesn't matter who you like. I don't think he's just going to come in and be so good that he makes up for the whatever deficits there are in the Giants organization necessarily. Although he could be, who knows? You never know. But I do think he's a quarterback who's talented enough that if he has the right support system, he can be really good. And I'm rooting for him. I know USC only had 2 players drafted. That was Jalen Smith and Woody Mark. So they got to get on that, man. But yeah, man. Shout out to Shador. The good thing about Shador is that Shador has. If you look at that situation, what was weird is that the Browns drafted. The Browns drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round with the 94th pick, and then turned around and drafted Shador in the 5th round, which really doesn't make any sense. But they should have just took Shador in the 3rd round. Dylan Gabriel is only 5'11". How is Dylan Gabriel a better quarterback prospect than Shador Sanders, right? That didn't make any sense. But if you look at their quarterback room, obviously you have Deshaun Watson as a torn ACL, who I know they would do anything just to make him just go away completely, right? You look at the other guys, um, it's Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and then the two rookies, so Gabriel and Sanders. So now Flacco, he led them to the playoffs a couple of years ago, right? If he comes out there and he plays that well again, then we may not see Shedeur Sanders next year. But if he doesn't and they suck, like they sucked last year, then I'm pretty sure we're gonna see Shedeur Sanders on starting games for the Browns next season because Kenny Pickett, his hands are too small. If he was any good, he'd still be in Pittsburgh. Uh, then you got, like I said, Dylan Gabriel. He's only 5'11". So Shador, if you look at it, you look at the competition. I mean, like I said, unless Flacco balls out like he did for them 2 years ago, I see no reason why he shouldn't. Unless he just gets to camp and they take a look at him and they go, okay, well, actually he fell in the fifth round because he's actually not that good, which I don't really think is going to happen. I see no reason, like I said, that he shouldn't, get a chance to go out there and start some games next season. So, he landed in a spot that, it could have been worse. You know, he could have gone somewhere where, like they already had a quarterback and they just took him like as somebody that maybe they could develop and see what they had. But that's not what happened. He ended up in a situation where he could play year one. So all's well that ends well, I suppose. And it's for him just to go out there and keep working and keep his head up. And I think he'll have a shot. And so with that being said, I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. I want to say goodbye. And I don't even feel like saying go Lakers because I'm so disgusted by them. So I'll just say goodbye and take care.